The crowd's roar fades, and in the suddenly silent arena, Jon Bon Jovi surveys the emptiness of the stage where once he found both triumph and solace. In these quiet moments between songs, he's not just a larger-than-life rock star. He's Johnny Bon Jovi, the scrappy New Jersey kid who learned early that dreams can come true, but sometimes at a terrible price. Born in 1962 in Sayreville, New Jersey, he grew up in a tight blue-collar family. Both his parents were former Marines, his father, John Sr., a humble barber, and his mother, Carol, a one-time Playboy bunny turned florist, who raised John and his brothers with an iron belief in the power of ambition. From childhood, he absorbed their message. If you believed in it, you could work on it. As he later recalled, taught to shoot for the moon as confidently as his mother told him, "Go, Johnny." Those roots grounded him even as he chased music relentlessly. As a teenager, John spent weekends sneaking into Asbury Park and chasing every break. At 16, he was recording jingles and even a novelty Christmas record. Years before Bon Jovi's first album, Jon Bon Jovi was credited as Jon Bon Jovi, singing the Star Wars-themed tune R2-D2 We Wish You a Merry Christmas on his cousin Tony's studio floor. By 17, he had formed his own bar band, the Atlantic City Expressway, with high school friend David Bryan on keyboard. They played cover gigs in Jersey clubs, where even Southside Johnny would drop by to have dinner at John's family table, honing their craft under the dim club lights. Those ramshackle, sweaty shows weren't glamorous, but John remembers them as moments of pure ambition taking shape, the early fuel for his destiny. Then came New York, big dreams and the formation of Bon Jovi. In 1983, John recruited guitarist Richie Sambora and drummer Tico Torres, creating the classic lineup that would soon explode. Their first record sold modestly, but by 1986, they unleashed Slippery When Wet, an album that shot them into superstardom practically overnight. That record shipped 28 million copies worldwide and spawned arena anthems like Livin on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name. Suddenly, John was a household name, selling out stadiums night after night. On stage, he was magnetic, fists aloft, cuffed tight red bandana in hand, delivering each note with the passion of a man on fire. But behind the scenes, the surge of fame was overwhelming. While Bon Jovi were climbing charts and skydiving to sleaze rock fame, John plunged headfirst into the hard edges of the rock star lifestyle. He later admitted with a rueful grin that his youth was laced with excess. "I got away with murder," he once confessed about those years of wild nights and endless options. Excess, indeed. After 5 sold-out shows at a London arena, after people showed him pictures of himself passed out in the hallway, he came to sense that something about this was spiraling out of control. But at the time, he couldn't resist it. He was reveling in what he had once only dreamed of. Yet even amid the superficial glitter, a torment was building. By 1988, the cracks began to show. On the back cover of their 4th album, New Jersey, John is photographed with his back turned to the camera, a harbinger of how he felt inside. He once admitted that at the peak of success, he found himself wanting to escape the adulation and glory that he had once wanted so passionately. In press conferences and interviews, he exuded charm, but in quiet moments he admitted to feeling trapped. The very crowds that adored him now felt like too much. He even took to wearing a trench coat, pulling up around his face whenever flashes went off. This was not the cool, untouchable superstar he had imagined. It was a man growing weary of the very dream he had chased. For a time, Bon Jovi bristled under the changing music scene of the early 90s. The gangly teens who had once jumped and sang along now grew bearded and turned to grunge. Album after album they released, from Keep the Faith to These Days. And though their music still moved millions, Jon felt the pressure. He coped by throwing himself into creative outlets and band loyalty. In the mid-90s, he even dragged his bandmates into group therapy so they could keep their brotherhood from fraying under constant stress. Though these years lacked the chart-breaking hits of the 80s, Jon leaned on his wife, high school sweetheart Dorothea, whom he married in 1989 amidst two #1 hits. She remained his anchor through tours and tabloid gossip alike, a private constant amid the public whirlwind. Still, more pain awaited. In 2012, tragedy struck his home life. His oldest daughter, Stephanie, was found unconscious from a heroin overdose. "That was a tragedy, absolutely," Jon told reporters. He expressed raw panic in interviews, but also a resolve. "I keep my head up, stay strong, and we'll get through it," he said, referring to Stephanie's recovery. This horrifying moment reminded him that fame and money meant nothing against the fear of losing one's child. He had dodged health crises himself, kept away from heavy drug use, but this was life's cruelest wound. Yet even this he overcame, through open, tearful conversations with family, and by turning Stephanie's struggle into a message, one that encourages open talk and second chances. As Jon cared for Stephanie, the band was also hurting from losses. Their original bassist, Alec John Such, was fired amid substance problems in 1994, a painful blow to the founding lineup. And years later, Alec died in 2022. In 2013 came the hardest blow. Richie Sambora, Jon's closest friend and co-writer of so many hits, abruptly quit the band mid-tour. Jon remembered that night vividly. "Richie simply didn't show up," he said. "We were playing for 20,000 people, and there was a black hole on the stage, where his partner in arms should have been." At first, their silence felt like betrayal. Jon hurt and felt abandoned. He flew to Dublin to confront Richie, desperate to understand. But as they watched their new documentary together, Jon heard something he hadn't expected. Richie apologizing on camera. Slowly, Jon came to realize those decisions were born of Richie's own pain, anxiety, single parenthood, and the grief of losing his father, not anything Jon had done. In time, Jon forgave him, concluding his choices weren't made out of animosity. Still, Sambora never rejoined. Jon soldiered on with hired guitarists, carrying the weight of that friendship lost. Into the 2010s, Jon confronted even more vulnerabilities. He'd toured over 2,700 shows worldwide and begun to feel the toll. By 2010, he was candidly questioning everything. In a revealing interview, he admitted, "I'm 10 pounds overweight, and I'm drinking too much, and I'm bored to tears." On stage, he still dazzled audiences, but in private, he confessed he was lost, sometimes suffocated by repetition. Those words about being tired, on autopilot, longing for something more, showed how human his rock star life really was. He joked about little things, his ever-fluorescent hair and habit of leaping into his crowd. But anxiety lurked behind every flash of the famous grin. In 2022 came another battle, Jon's own voice. After decades of touring, a singer's worst nightmare fell upon him: vocal cord deterioration. He underwent surgery that year and faced months of silence and therapy. As he told Entertainment Tonight, "Nothing else matters until I work on getting better. It's up to God at this point. I've done everything I can do." He rescheduled concerts and practiced diligently, determined not to be silenced. When he finally sang again, he described waking up to, "The first time in a decade, the only voice in my head was mine. Fear wasn't there. Doubt wasn't there. Once again, he had fought back from the brink, refusing to let the music die. Through all these trials, Jon Bon Jovi's response has been hard work and humility. After his daughter's overdose, he gave talks about recovery and kindness. After Sambora's exit, he recorded new albums and fronted tours, learning that leading the band meant shouldering every loss. After losing his voice, he learned new ways to sing, actually teaching himself to scream less and protect what remains. In 2024, he quietly mourned another loss. His mother, Carol, the woman who believed in him from the start, passed away at 83. On Instagram, he shared a photo collage calling her a force to be reckoned with, whose spirit will be greatly missed. Through tears, he embraced that his childhood was fully gone, but he knew she'd be proud of the man he became. Today, Jon Bon Jovi stands at the edge of a new era, a far cry from the angst-laden kid who grew up sweeping floors in a cousin's recording studio. Crowds still chant the anthems he created, and stadiums still light up with his presence. But now, behind those charismatic smiles, is a man who has weathered true darkness. Each ache is visible in his eyes, the weight of broken brotherhood, of a father's passing, of harsh solitude on the road. Yet every time the curtain rises, he carries on. He's weathered enough tragedy to fill a book, and in true Bon Jovi fashion, he's still rising. Whether strumming softly on a porch or belting out a chorus to tens of thousands, Jon Bon Jovi has proven that the dreams built on hope can survive heartbreak, and that after every hard rock fall, it only takes just a little bit rock and roll to get back up again. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe with notifications on to never miss a video.